All right, let's get right into it. Today we're tackling a huge question, maybe one of the most stressful ones for anyone thinking about university. Which high school subjects actually give you the best shot at getting in? We're going to cut through the noise and just look at the numbers.
You know the feeling, right? You've got all these different subjects, only so many hours in the day, so where should you focus your energy to get the biggest bang for your buck? The pressure is real, and it feels like the stakes couldn't be any higher.
But what if we didn't have to rely on gut feelings or what our friends are doing? Instead of just guessing, we can actually use a pretty simple, data-driven model to get some real clarity on this. So let's see what the data tells us. So here's our game plan. First, we'll lay out the core question. Then I'll show you exactly how we can put a number on this idea of opportunity. After that, the big reveal. We'll look at the data, figure out what it all means, and finally talk about how you might use these insights for your own study strategy. So it all comes back to this one central problem. With so many subjects competing for your time, being strategic about where you focus can be the thing that unlocks the most doors when it's time to apply to universities. Okay, let's get into the nitty-gritty. How in the world do you put a number on how valuable a subject is? Well, the method we're looking at is actually pretty straightforward and logical. It's all about connecting your subjects to actual real-life admission spots. First things first, let's define our key term here, opportunity. For this analysis, just think of it as the total number of university admission spots you can compete for. Being good at a subject is like holding a bunch of admission tickets. Our goal is to count how many tickets each subject really gives you. The whole calculation boils down to 3 steps. First, for every university department, we identify what's called the last civ subject. That's just a fancy term for their ultimate tiebreaker, the subject they value most. For instance, an engineering program with 100 spots might use advanced math as its last civ. So for step 2, we give all 100 of those opportunity spots to that math subject. Now, if a department cared about 2 subjects equally, we just split the spots 50-50. And finally, step 3, we just add up all the spots for each subject across every department to get our grand total. Simple as that. And just so you know, we're not talking about some small-scale survey. This calculation was done on a massive data set. We're talking 1,877 different departments from 49 universities. So the results we're about to look at, they're built on a really solid foundation. All right, the moment of truth. After running all those numbers, which subjects actually came out on top? Let's take a look at the results. And here they are. You can see right away that Chinese and English are in a completely different league, both with scores well over 11,000. Then you get this middle group with natural science and mathematics A, your typical science and engineering path. And bringing up the rear, we have social studies and mathematics B, which is often for arts and social science tracks. The biggest thing to see here is that there are very clear tiers. You know, seeing it as a bar chart really drives the point home. It's not just a list of numbers anymore. You can physically see the scale of the difference. Just look at the massive gap between Chinese and English at the top and mathematics be way down at the bottom. The difference is, well, it's pretty dramatic. Okay, so seeing the raw numbers is one thing, but what does this actually mean for a student trying to make smart choices? Let's break down what these numbers are really telling us. This right here is probably the most shocking finding. According to this model, a student who really excels in Chinese has a shot at roughly 5 times as many university admission spots as a student whose main strength is mathematics B. Let that sink in. 5 times. That's a staggering difference. And that gap isn't just with Math B. It's significant elsewhere too. For example, if you're strong in Chinese, you have access to nearly 3 times the opportunities compared to someone who's strong in social studies. It really puts things into a new perspective. So let's sum up the key takeaways. The data shows these really distinct tiers. You've got Chinese and English sitting at the very top, which makes a lot of sense since they're foundational for a huge number of degrees. Then you have natural science and mathematics A forming that solid middle group. And finally, by this specific measurement, social studies and mathematics B open the fewest doors. But hold on, what if we look at the data a little differently? What if, instead of splitting math into 2 tracks, we just combine them to represent overall math skill? Well, check this out. Suddenly, mathematics as a single subject jumps all the way up to 3rd place, right behind Chinese and English. It's a perfect example of how perspective matters. While a specialized math track might seem more limited, being good at math in general is still incredibly valuable. We've looked at the model, we've gone through the data, and we've pulled out the key insights. So now we get to the most important part. What does all this mean for you and your study plan?
Now, this is absolutely critical to remember. This analysis is a guide, not a gospel. It's meant to be a reference point. It's not a command telling you what to study. It can't possibly know what you're passionate about, what you're naturally good at, or what your dream university program is. It's just one more powerful tool to help you think strategically. So we'll leave you with this question to think about. Now that you've seen this data-driven approach, does it change how you think about your priorities? Will you reconsider your study plan at all? It's a fascinating question and one that just might help shape your path forward. Thanks for joining us.